All right, it says we're live. I thought Pam would never, ever get here.
We're always waiting on Pam.
Pam. No, I just walked in the door from the Ark, literally just walked in the door from the Ark. So let me say hello to everybody quickly. There's Pam. Dale, there's Pam. There's Dylan. Jenny Lynn. Same people. All right. Now that we're live, we should start getting some more people in.
Yeah.
As you guys know, we are a group of cold-blooded fish keepers, but we also love reptiles. So we banded together and formed this group called Reptales, and we're centered around a Facebook page called Reptiles, and you can find all of our content there as well as on the host channels. So tonight we are very happy and thrilled to have Dylan. And Dylan is a veteran aquatics and reptiles, and we've actually had Dylan on before on the fish side, I think, right, Dylan?
Yep.
Yep.
Nice.
And so we're glad to have him on this side now. So he's going to tell us a little bit about himself for anybody that doesn't know him. And he's got an awesome channel. If you're not subscribed, grab the link and subscribe there. I think everybody knows the panel, but there's Pam beside me, finally here, and then Mike on the other side of her, and then Susie Q down below her. So take it away, Dylan.
Woohoo.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Dylan, and I run the YouTube channel Veteran Aquatics. Up until recently, I actually haven't been back into reptiles. I kept them when I was a teenager. I probably had 4 or 5 king snakes and corn snakes. But then one day I found a milk snake on Craigslist, and I was like, you know what? I haven't kept a snake in a while. So I got that, and that's how it started. I mean, with fish, I was running at one point up to 120 tanks.
Wow.
Now we're cut down to about 50. I had to move. But I do still have something like 14 snakes. And all except for one of them are colubrids, like this little pie-sided blood red corn snake right here. So this is a yearling.
How big is he going to get? Oh my goodness.
The corn snake, probably 4 or 5 foot maybe. They tend to stick to the 4.5, 5 foot range. I do have one ball python besides this, but colubrids are where I started and probably where I'm going to end up. Right now, it's all corn snakes and hognose, besides that one ball python.
Oh,
That's
my
Susie's attack word, hognose.
Western hognose. I want to know albino Western hognose. I don't own any snakes.
Oh, we got to get you some snakes. The good news is I'll be producing some corn snakes this coming spring. So even though it's my first year back, I did get some adult pairs.
Nice.
So I'll be producing some nice like cinder tesseras, cinder striped tesseras, stuff like that, or hypo cinder striped tesseras.
Oh, beautiful. I think I'm going to hold off for Western hognose. My
Give
dream.
me 2-3 years. I have some really nice hognose genetics.
Woo! Is it corny to say I'll wait? I'll wait for you, Dylan.
They're going to be expensive. They are Arctic Conda. I have watermelon Arctic Conda, het sables. So we should be producing things like super Conda, super Arctic, watermelon sables,
Wow.
some crazy stuff. I did spend quite a bit of money, but I quickly found out what I liked. And, you know, like what I did with fish is I kind of kept everything until I figured out what I liked. I knew I liked colubrids. I knew I liked corn snakes and king snakes and hognose. I had never kept them before, but after going to a couple reptile expos, I made friends with a breeder, and he cut me some pretty good deals. And I kind of just fell in love. They're smaller, max like 3 foot. They are actually rear fang venomous snakes, kind of like dart frogs in captivity, though. They do not pack much of a punch, and even in the wild, it's toad poison. It's because they eat toads in the wild. It's mild, like skin irritation type of stuff.
Okay.
So it's not something that's going to hurt or kill anybody, but kind of like captive bred dart frogs, it's much less toxic to not toxic at all in captivity where they're eating a diet of mice. So all of my snakes eat frozen thawed. I do not do live feeders. It is safer for the snake in that the mouse can't hurt it. And you also have much less risk of parasites, disease, that sort of thing. So it's just my preference, and those are the reasons why I do feed frozen thawed versus live.
So if a mouse had parasites when they're in the frozen process, does that freeze off and kill off any parasites they may have had?
Most of the time, yes, because they get like completely frozen. Now you won't want to go and catch a mouse out in your basement or something, put it in the freezer and try feeding it to your snake.
Nope.
And don't ever catch wild mice and feed them to your snakes. But for the most part, the freezing process does kill anything that might be in like the farm-raised mice or the captive bred mice.
Okay.
So Bob had said earlier something about brumation, and I do have adult corn snakes. I have 6 of them, and I also have a tricolor hognose. Maybe I'll pull him out in a bit. But all of my adult corn snakes are currently in brumation. So this is actually my bedroom where I keep all my snakes. And that's because I can control the temperature in here. I like to sleep cold, which works out because I can just unplug the heat tape and it stays about 58 degrees in here. And generally for a brumation of colubrids, you're going to want something like 55 to 60 degrees. And they're going to go until probably the end of February without eating.
Now, why did you decide to brumate? We've got lots of brumation questions, Dylan.
So when it comes to colubrids, brumation is only important if you want to breed them. So like these young ones, you can see all the lights behind me on that rack. Those are all young. They are not being brumated. They're being heated by lamps. My adult snakes, turn the camera here, are in these racks. Those racks have heat tape and a thermostat run to them. And yeah, the only reason you would brumate a colubrid is to breed them. It helps trigger the breeding process and the urge to breed. Not to mention saves you on mice for a couple of months. And yeah, during that time, all they get is water. I'll check their water, make sure they have fresh, clean water about once a week. Check on them, make sure nobody's too skinny, make sure nobody died, anything like that. If something was to happen, you have to slowly bring them back up to temperature. You can't just turn the thermostat back on and run them back up to 80 degrees. The temperature shock, just like with fish, can kill them.
Oh.
So when it comes time to take them out of brumation, I will start their temperature increase at about 63, 64 degrees. And then every couple of days, I'll just 1 degree until they get up to about 72. And then a week later, I'll put it up to 75. And then a week later, we'll go back to 80 degrees. At that time, they'll be ready for their first meal after brumation. And hopefully a week later, I can start to see if I can get some locks and get some females with some eggs going.
How do you know when to start unbrumating, waking them up?
So I follow a channel called Reptile Discovery. And I've never done this with snakes before. This is going to be a first-year process for me, a first-time thing. I've kept snakes a lot like I said, when I was younger, but I never tried breeding them. I didn't know anything about brumation. It was just you throw them a mouse once a week and kind of handle them carefully. But I follow a channel called Snake Discovery, and I really like the way they do things. So kind of like Aquarium Co-op with the aquatics side, I enjoy the way they do things so much so that I kind of just model my behavior after them.
Okay.
And so I'm following their brumation guides. They breed a ton of snakes. They run a zoo. It's actually really incredible. It's a husband and wife team. So I'm just following what Snake Discovery says, and if it works for me, great. If not, I can learn to do some other things. I stopped feeding them on Halloween and slowly started lowering their temperature up to December 1st, where we just unplugged the thermostat altogether.
Oh, wow.
Now, someone brought up in our discussion about brumation recently that what am I trying to say? Snakes that are bred in captivity, captive bred, colubrids, that you didn't need to brumate them, but I'm hearing differently. If you want to breed them, you still need to do that.
So it can be hit or miss from what I know. And I don't know everything. Again, this is my first year back into snakes. But from what I understand, you can sometimes get them to breed without brumating them. Uh, but for their natural processes, it helps a lot. And you tend to get a lot more success after brumation.
Gotcha. Gotcha. What if you weren't going to breed? I guess is a backwards way to say that. If you weren't going to breed, in other words, mine are still juveniles. I've got 5 corn snakes, and I keep them together so far, knock on wood, but they're juvies. But anyway, I'm not brumating them because of their age to start with, but I don't plan on breeding them. If they breed, they breed. And I'm assuming that they're all captive bred. I don't know that for sure, but is it detrimental health-wise? Have you researched that?
No, it doesn't hurt the snakes not to brumate them. The only reason you would do it is if you were trying to trigger the breeding process. So, like my juveniles aren't brumating; they're all their tanks are still heated. Only the adults are being brumated, and it's only to breed them. If you have just a pet corn snake or king snake or milk snake or hognose, you do not need to brumate them unless you want to just take a break from feeding them for a couple months. But with most hobby reptile keepers, you're probably not going to want to do that because you're going to want to pick them up. And you shouldn't pick up snakes while they're in brumation. Your hand temperatures are far warmer than the air temperature that they're brumating in, and you can actually screw up their brumation cycle by doing so.
Good point. Well, the main thing I wanted to ask you is, as far as handling them, I like to handle my snakes, and I do, except for my new Brazilian rainbow boa. I haven't worked my nerve up for that yet. It's a 6-foot snake. But I just read that they never bite, and see, that goes to show you the difference in opinion. I know they bite, but anyway. Colubrids are known for biting. At least some sources say they are. That's why they always direct beginners to ball pythons and hognoses and stuff like that. Do you have more bites with them, or?
The only snake I've ever been bitten by is a king snake. King snakes, in my experience, are kind of bitey.
Yeah.
They also have a very, very impressive, or silly in the case of the little albino that I had before I sold them, food response. They kind of go nuts for it.
Yeah.
So I've had these guys for a while, and I handle them fairly often. I'd say at least once a week. And I only have one little hognose that likes to flatten her head and hiss at me. But I would say corn snakes are probably the least temperamental snake I've ever handled, maybe besides the ball python. I have noticed that young ball pythons are not inclined to bite at all. But corn snakes, I've never been bitten by a corn snake. It's one time when I was a teenager, I had a king snake that escaped his cage, and my brother had hamsters, so I caught him halfway into the hamster cage. Me not even thinking about it, grabbed a snake in a rodent cage. So obviously, me touching a snake that was hunting for food decided he would bite me. But it doesn't hurt. They don't have teeth. They have teeth, but they're not fangs, right? So it's just kind of like a little scrape, especially when they're like this size. So this is a yearling. She's, I'd probably give her 17, 18 inches. It's not going to hurt you at all. It probably won't even draw blood. Even my biggest corn snakes would just scrape the skin. They might draw a little bit of blood, but it's not going to be anything bad. Pythons and boas have a far worse bite if they do bite you. Hognose tend to be pretty calm. They may play dead, which is interesting to watch. Yeah, it's the fun thing about hognose. And you can pick them up and roll them over, and they'll just keep rolling right back over.
Like you don't notice.
Right, like you didn't notice. Yeah, I flipped you upside, and now you flipped the other way. You're totally dead. Yeah, I don't think colubrids are bitey besides king snakes and bull snakes. Bull snakes are bitey. Bull snakes are pretty aggressive, actually. But I would like to later this year get a hold of some bull snakes and some king snakes.
They're gorgeous.
They are. There's nothing, in my opinion, that beats like a white-sided bull snake. I mean, they get 8, 9 feet long, but they're beautiful snakes, and it's something I really want to keep. Eventually, I would like to have a lot of snakes, probably more snakes than fish, honestly.
Nice.
So are you going to the East Coast Reptile Show tomorrow?
I am not. I'll have my kids tomorrow.
Oh, good for you then.
I mean, they would like to go, of course. Elizabeth calls them a snake party.
How old are they?
Elizabeth is 5, and Amber is going to be 2 in February.
My granddaughter's 7 and she wants to go, but she has a birthday party, so she's torn. And I'm like, don't be silly. Go to the birthday party. This expo happens every other month.
Yeah. I mean, there's an expo in Pennsylvania, like you said, like every other month.
Yeah.
And I also don't like to go to them unless I can buy things.
Ah.
And right now I can't. It's easy to spend money there, and you can always get a pretty good deal.
I
Notice
grocery shopping, so I'll go and I'll get about 1,000 crickets. I'll get 1,000 superworms, 1,000 mealworms. I'll get some isopods, and juvia roaches. And I come home with no reptile. Well, last time I came home with a baby skink, but aside from that.
there is always another snake that I would like to buy. Always, always, always.
Always, yeah. Always is.
I like them all. I mean, barring very large things like Burmese pythons and anacondas, I probably keep just about anything. I won't keep venomous snakes, so I won't be getting my venomous snake permit or anything like that. I think cobras are cool, but I'm not dying to keep a pet.
Right.
I
And
don't
you don't
think
need
so.
one for the Western hognose?
What's that?
You don't need a permit for the Western hognose?
No, you don't. Just like a false water cobra, which is also a colubrid, they're rear fang venomous, but the venom is not enough to cause any tissue damage. It's nothing that's going to kill you. Even if you're allergic to it, it's only going to cause you to break out.
Okay. Well, you keep saying colubrid. What does that actually mean?
So colubrid is a group of mostly North American snakes. They involve king snakes, corn snakes, milk snakes, western hognose snakes, indigo snakes, bull snakes, pine snakes, and a handful of other things. It's actually the largest genus of snake.
Any of those colubrids give birth to live babies?
I don't know if a garter snake is considered a colubrid, probably. And if so, yes.
Huh. Never thought
Most
about
of the species that I listed off all lay eggs. So you'll have to incubate them and hatch them and stuff like that.
And what happens if you leave the eggs in with the mother snake?
That depends on if the conditions are right for them to hatch. So if the eggs need quite a bit of humidity compared to these snakes. So since these snakes are mostly native to North America, the humidity is not really too high on them, whereas the ball python, it's pretty high. These guys are pretty low. But the eggs do require a fair bit of humidity, so odds are you'll end up drying out the eggs. Now, I have seen things like tricolor hognose, which are native to South America, hatch in their enclosures because the humidity was high enough. But generally, you're going to want to pull the eggs out, put them in a container with perlite, make sure it's nice and damp, and keep it nice and clean. You also want to be able to check for fungus or so like when you're hatching fish eggs, some of them will kind of fungus over and go bad, and they can ruin the rest of the eggs. And it's the same thing when it comes to hatching snake eggs. They'll turn black or green. You can actually put Lotrimin foot powder on them to help kind of dry that out. And then you would separate that egg from the rest of the clutch and just keep an eye on it. It may or may not hatch. You also do not want to rotate an egg once it's started gestating or incubating because the baby snake's attached to the inside of the eggshell, and if you do that, you run the risk of actually killing the baby snake.
Oh my!
Yeah. So it's easy to mark them. You would take a marker and just mark the egg the way you laid it down, so that way you always know.
Now, where did you get your breeding pairs from, if you don't mind?
A lot of Morph Market. So my nicer pairs came from Morph Market. I was just looking for people either shutting down or kind of thinning out their collections. So I was actually able to find a guy that was selling 2 adult pairs, and I tucked him into a price for both pairs and got those. The rest of them were just locally found. Craigslist was one way. There's a couple of Facebook groups locally where people will post things up. And I would just meet them at reptile expos, and they'd bring them to me that way.
how come it kind of looks like some of your enclosures behind you or lids are not secured on, tied, bolted?
Because that's the one that this one came out of.
Oh, okay. I was like,
Yeah, don't worry.
yeah.
I've only lost one snake since coming back to it. Unfortunately, it was pretty expensive salmon snow.
Like
corn
you just
snake.
can't find him, or he passed?
Oh, no, he got out. And he was a hatchling, so it was in my old fish room, which was a two and a half car garage with stuff everywhere. So I tore it apart, but I could never find him.
Yeah. I actually just lost a crested gecko yesterday, and
Yeah.
I found his tail. Not a good sign. I've never had a monkey butt, but I know they do that to get away. I'm hoping the kitten went after the tail, because somehow or another, it's one of these cheapo enclosures with the front opening latches, and it kind of like breaks after a couple of years.
Right.
And it was like jarred open, and I think my male, which I was breeding, got out, and I just found the tail, and I'm so upset. But I still have hopes that I can find my little monkey butt somewhere now.
Hopefully you get lucky.
I can just see your kitten Googling how to unlatch that thing.
Oh my God. Like, she just goes crazy with that. The only reason she doesn't bother my parrot is because the parrot's larger than she is. Yeah. But I know.
I was scared of the parrot.
Yeah. I know snakes are infamous for escaping.
Mm-hmm. They can get out of just about anything.
I still have the brown African house snake loose in here, and I know it's not dead because I haven't smelled it. So,
Yeah, dead snakes stink really badly.
Yep.
Oh,
It's been 6 months, I guess, now.
When I was a kid, I actually lost, it was my first corn snake. It was a normal corn snake. I lost it for 3 years. I was probably 12 when I lost it. I was 15, and my girlfriend at the time was in the living room, and she screamed. She's like, "There's a snake!" So I go out there, and lo and behold, it is a fully grown, very feral, full-grown corn snake.
Wow.
And it was the one I had lost 3 years prior.
And were you able to get it back in an enclosure?
Yeah.
How long did it take for it to be unferal or more tame?
Oh, I ended up giving it to somebody else. It was too feral.
Yeah.
It was just one of those things where, I was a teenager, so I was less comfortable handling things than I am now. I just ended up giving it away to somebody. I was like, it's too nasty. I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
But it was cool that I found it.
That was very cool.
It sounds
I've heard
like
so
you had
many
some
positive
other
stories.
I'm sorry, Susie. I talked over you. I didn't
Oh.
hear you.
That's all right. I was just saying I've heard lots of positive stories about animals and tortoises and different reptiles that have gotten out but have been found years later in close proximity, and that gives me hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they can find something to eat and a warm place to hide, they'll generally not go terribly far.
Yeah. That's
Awesome.
cool.
So what morphs do you have?
So this is a blood red pied side female. Her pairing is a reverse Okatee het blood red male. So he's back there chilling. And let's see, what else do I have? As far as corn snakes, I have a Cinder to Sarah pair. They're adults. Hypo Cinder to Sarah pair. Actually, that's what both of the adult pairs were. I have a adult Lavender. I have an adult Motley. And I have 2 adult normals, both of which, one I know is hets, and he's kind of het for everything. And the other one is going to be a surprise. So I'm going to pair both the normals and see if I can get some kind of morphs out of that. As far as hognose go, everything is Conda, because that is my favorite morph. Actually, they're all Arctic Condas, because those are 2 great color and pattern morphs. I have some that are het Toffee Belly, and het Exanthic. I have het Sables, which I'm really excited for. A couple of het Albinos. The ball python I have is a lesser pastel. With
And what does lesser mean? I hear that term a lot.
So I'm not great with ball python morphs yet.
Okay.
But it is a pattern morph that kind of lightens their color pattern, from what I understand.
Okay.
So the pastel and the lesser both kind of lighten their patterns, and I had two. I sold one. The one I sold was a better example. He was much lighter, like a much less defined pattern than the other one I have. But you can tell the difference when you look at it versus a normal ball python.
Mike, what's a lesser?
What's a what?
A lesser? What does lesser mean in ball pythons? Mike knows.
Like Alan just said.
I didn't hear you.
Just like Dylan just said, lightens the color. And
Oh, he's saying it's the same as what you explained.
Okay, got you. Okay. Cool.
I guess that would probably be in any reptile that has the lesser gene. It just means lighter than. Okay, because I know it's like there's all these like slang words that like it's like hard to know what's what. I mean, I have bearded dragons and geckos. I don't have any snakes, but I hear a lot of the similar morphs, and they got the like pied and similarities in that fashion. So it's interesting. It's very interesting, And I actually have a silkback bearded dragon, which unfortunately comes from somebody breeding two leatherbacks. 1/4 of the babies, or 1 out of 4, I should say, could be born as a silkback, and it's a very like high maintenance, very hard to hard to care for bearded dragon. Is that the same in the snake world? Snakes you should not breed together.
So there are some. So a good example with ball pythons is the spider morph.
Okay.
It's one of my favorites. It looks amazing, but they have neurological issues, which can give them really hard times eating. Sometimes it can outright kill them. Some can outgrow it, but you don't know that when you're doing it. So while pattern-wise it's one of my favorite morphs, it's something that I'll probably never keep.
Okay, and you can't really breed them once you have them because you're definitely going to breed that on.
Right. Yeah, I mean, plenty of people breed them.
Oh.
They're a very profitable morph. They look really good. But with the head wobble and the neurological issues they have, it's something that I would never do personally.
Right.
I try to do.
I have one, and it was a hard decision, and I didn't really make the decision fully till I met the snake, and I got a pied and a banana, and I wanted this killer bee so bad, but I handled her, and I saw that her wobble was minimal, and I thought, I'm not sure I'm ever going to breed her. She's just a gorgeous snake, but head wobble is a little different than striking at food. Sometimes it takes 6 or 7, 8 strikes to get that mouse frozen thawed, but I just have to make sure she gets it. But yeah, it's like crossbreeding rainbow fish and stuff like that in the snake world. Some people are just very truists and won't do it, and some people breed the killer gene all the time. But I don't. If I do ever breed her, it'll be just for me to keep the babies.
And it's everybody's choice. Just the way I kind of do things. If it's going to be of any detriment to the way the animal lives, I probably am not going to do it. More specialized care, like Bob said, they have a harder time eating, so you have to make sure that they eat and kind of watch them while they do it. And two, it's there's enough people that do it out there. I don't need to do it too.
Right.
There's a million ball python breeders, so I don't even know that that's necessarily something I'll get into very heavily, but there are some beautiful ball pythons. So just like with the fish, we all have our breeding projects, but we also have those things we keep just because they're pretty.
Yeah.
And I kind of deluded myself and said, I'm rescuing her kind of because she needs extra attention. Well, the man was, there were people waiting to hold the snake when I was looking at her. She's stunning. I mean, she's gorgeous. It's a killer bee.
Mm-hmm.
But he was taking good care of her, and I'm sure whoever got her would also. But so anyway, I talked myself into it. So I enjoy her.
It's easy to talk yourself into a pretty snake, and like I said, it's one of my favorite looking morphs out there. I love it.
I think because she's had extra attention, that she's extra tame. Because she literally will watch me, just lay and watch me. She's not hungry, and I hold her more than the others. So there you go. Yeah. But you said you had a ball python?
I do. I have a lesser pastel. He's downstairs if you'd like me to go get him.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah,
All right, I'll be right back.
awesome. Yeah. Just like with fish, snake hobbyists have their, and reptile hobbyists, we have our dilemmas, and our, should we do this or not? I just can't imagine people breeding pugs and chihuahuas, and look what you get. Yeah.
And happy birthday, Patrick.
Yes, happy birthday. All people wishing you that. I started to say Susie must have went to get a snake, but she didn't have a snake, does she? Not yet. Let's see, jag gene in carpet python is the same as spider and ball python, so it's a neurological gene that causes them to wobble then. I've
Yeah, I
never
know
heard
those silkies. I asked the breeder, and he told me that he would never breed two leatherbacks ever again. I checked with another breeder, and they said the same thing because, like, this is very high maintenance. Like, I have to bathe her. She's in a perpetual state of shed. She gets lotion all the time. Then I got to put her in a very safe heat bulb until the lotion sinks in, otherwise she'll burn. I got to make sure every shed, every time, because she'll just start losing toes. I got to make sure that's complete. And I could never mate her because she just has skin. Now,
Yeah.
instead of the rope hammock, she has a cloth hammock because she'll just rip open her skin. It's like so sad. Like,
Oh my gosh.
but I'm happy I have her. I'm happy. Like when I got her
Yeah.
out of the store, they said you can't rescue an animal out of a store. Well, the heat lamp wasn't working. This poor thing was just I feel like I rescued her. I don't care what anyone says.
Oh God.
She's
How
a snuggle
many-
bug.
Yeah, you can rescue them there. That's probably where most of them are that need rescue.
Yeah.
It rubs the lotion on its back. It puts the lotion in the basket. Remember that? What was that, Hannibal? I couldn't help but think of that.
Yeah, I use the Burt's Bees. It's like beeswax lotion. Yep.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
You're gonna spoil that reptile, Susie.
They say their life expectancy is so shortened because of it. Because most of them lose toes and tail tips and all this. It's like, oh my gosh, this is horrible.
I'm glad you got it.
Yeah, me too. I don't get why people would breed leatherbacks together unless they don't know that could happen.
I don't know.
So the ball python decided he would choose violence today.
Oh,
So I'm going to leave him alone. But I do have a mid-shed tricolor hognose.
Look at that. Mike, do you see how big that is?
Oh, he's so pretty.
Oh. Mike has a baby tricolor hognose.
Yeah.
He's tortured me by calling it Q for Susie Q because he knows I can't get a snake right now.
He even did a video naming it
Oh
Q.
my gosh, that is so beautiful.
So tricolor hognose differ from normal hognose in that they breed multiple times throughout the year and
Oh,
don't
really?
have to brumate.
Oh, wow.
And you said a higher humidity?
Yep, they like a higher humidity and a higher temperature.
Oh, what's the temperature?
So they're South American native, so warmer and more humid.
Okay, cool.
So
So
they're
now,
not-
do you have them, is she also in a rack or is she in a bioactive enclosure?
I keep all the adults are in a rack, so I
Okay,
just have a heat pad plugged in under. It's a he.
He.
I just have a heat pad plugged in under his, since I'm not heating the rest of the rack right now.
Now, do you know about bioactive enclosures?
I do, and I think they look great.
If I had
And
a cake,
eventually,
how would I heat the
I
bottom if
wrestled
it had 2 inches of substrate? Like, how do you give them belly heat when they have so much substrate in the bioactive?
I would probably say you'd be better off with overhead heat then.
Like and just heat like a slate rock or something?
Yeah, you could probably do that too. So I actually have a buddy that builds bioactive enclosures. So that'd be a better question for me to ask Jesse.
Okay, Jesse.
It's actually where I got this hognose from. Was Jesse. Jesse, are you here? You said you were going to watch.
That would be cool. Who's your buddy that makes the 3D print stuff for fish?
That is Zach. Zach Getz.
He's awesome, man. I love his stuff too.
No, Zach's a great guy. We actually just did the Cichlid Club of York swap together.
Okay.
And we will be doing the swap at that fish place in Lancaster, Pennsylvania on March 25th.
I'm going to write that down, March 25th.
There's Jesse, just one more fish. So Jesse's the one that builds bioactive enclosures, and he would be much better suited to answering any questions about those than I would.
Did you hear my
Thanks so much,
question?
Jesse.
Just one more fish?
Yep, just one more fish. He's there in chat.
Well, I'm going to put the link in chat just in case he's willing to come up. So I'm going to put the StreamYard link in chat.
What was that date in March that you said?
The 25th. I'll send you the details of it after this if you'd like.
Oh, that'd be great. That's at
Also, fun fact, while we're talking about fish swaps. So you guys might have seen the little group that we formed, Allied Aquatics. So that's me, Jesse, Zach, Small World Aquatics, and a couple of others. And our plan is to actually throw swaps in different areas throughout the state that don't have an active fish club doing them.
Oh, wow. That is
So
awesome.
we tentatively, not so tentatively, it's pretty much set, have one scheduled. So I believe it is May 6th in a VFW in Philadelphia.
Ooh.
Or near Philadelphia. So it'll be our first swap. And that's the whole reason we formed the group is there are a lot of clubs in Pennsylvania and quite a few of them do swaps, but there's a lot of areas that don't have big enough clubs or don't have clubs that organize stuff like that. So places like Philly and Harrisburg and even out west, there's a lot of areas that are kind of underserved or not served at all by not having a club local to them. So we wanted to be able to bring these awesome fish events to everybody across the state.
So the one in Philly, is it like Northeast Philly, Center City? South
I
Philly?
could give you an exact address.
Okay.
As long as it doesn't.
I did miss your comment, Dragon Lair. Did you answer my comment? I think Dragon Lair answered.
So it's Horsham, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. That's not really Philly. For talking to someone who lived in Philly, that's not really.
It's close-ish.
It's right
It's
on
close
the
to Philly. Let's put it that way. It's close to Philly.
Now you've been to my fish room, right, Dylan?
Yeah,
I thought
I was
so.
there with Scott and Michael.
Yep, that was awesome. And not
Yeah.
too many people have ever been like in my home, and I was just so thrilled to have visitors. Like, come look at my fish room. I was like, what?
Oh, I love seeing everybody's fish rooms. I would like to start touring fish rooms again and stuff like that, and reptile rooms. At some point, I'm going to have to rebrand here because it's no longer just Veteran Aquatics. It's Veteran.
That's what Mike did. That's what Bob did. That's what I've done.
Yep.
And some people do a second channel because they're already so big they can't rebrand. But we're all at the same level. Like we can rebrand pretty easily. We're under 10,000 subscribers. You know.
Yeah, I'm at about 5K. Like 48.5 or something like that, so I can still do it.
You're almost at 5K. Oh my God!
Yeah.
I remember when you started. Awesome. This is so awesome.
Jesse says that with Bioactive that he would do the overhead, like Dylan said, or the slate rock, like you said.
Well, that's cool. You know those heat rocks that everybody hates? Well, I had so many of them. I just cut the cord on them, and I have a couple heat lamps right on top of it because that seems to absorb and hold the heat pretty because it's like the red clay.
Right.
If it doesn't match my decor, then I'm not using it. Oh, I do go to Home Depot and get a lot of slate and then drop the slate and use the parts because I got so many tortoises and bearded dragons and things that like the belly heat. Oh, what a beautiful snake. Oh, my God. I'm in love with that snake. And I did read your comment, Dragon Lair. He says if he wins the lottery, he's going to send me a pair of tricolored hognose. And I'll tell John Bagga to hit the road, Jack.
Right.
If you're sending hognose out, I do need a female.
He said if he hits a lottery, so I'm still waiting.
Okay.
I'll hold my breath.
So this is the first time I've heard that that's not a different morph, that it's a different species.
Yep. So a couple of things with this particular species of hognose. One, they actually have a very short lifespan. On average, they only live 7 to 9 years.
Oh, wow.
Versus most other colubrids, you're in the 12 to 15 area mark. They stay small, like hognose do, but again, they don't need to be brumated. They'll breed multiple times throughout the year. They'll give you 3 or 4 or 5 clutches. And again, so a South American snake versus a North American snake, so a little bit hotter, a little bit more humid.
But the same kind of personality?
So with this particular one, he's a little feistier than some of my other hognose. But generally speaking, I would say yes.
Okay.
Look at that face.
I know
And
they're the cutest snake ever.
that is why they call them a hognose. So they have that little upturned nose, and they are a burrowing snake. So they will use that to dig up substrate. Like you'll oftentimes find them buried in their substrate. Yeah, they're a burrowing snake, and that's why they have that cute little flat nose.
Tennessee Fish Keeper asked a very critical question. Are the cheesesteaks in Philly better? Yes.
Yes.
I would not get a Philadelphia cheesesteak anywhere other than, and it has to be with or without onions. Like you can't just, you got whiz and with or whiz and without.
And the pizza is much worse in this state than it was in New York. So if you want to kind of get an idea of how my bins are set up, let's see if we can do this without dumping them. So there's lots of cover. I use aspen shavings for bedding. I always put a rock in it to help them shed, and their water dish.
Oh, that looks kind of like a salad that I've taken to gatherings before.
Oh, they like it. It's stuff to hide in. It makes them feel secure.
Without the snake. The only tricolor snake I have is a Puebloan milk snake, and of course those are king snakes.
I love milk snakes. That was what I got. It was my first snake back into it was a sock-headed Puebloan milk snake.
Nice. You still have it?
I do not. Jesse has it, actually.
Jesse. I haven't seen Mike do a video on his recently. He's been sick, so I'm sure it's growing though.
Yeah, it's still pretty small.
Oh, they have tricolor isopods? That sounds pretty cool.
I would like to venture into keeping dirt frogs.
One day I'm going to get into collecting different kinds of isopods.
I've seen some bright orange ones. There's some pretty cool isopods out there.
Yeah. The ones that are in my bioactives came from my yard, from my driveway under pots and stuff. Freebies. But they
There
do
you
the
go.
job. Something's going on here. Huh. Susie, did you go out and come back?
Oh, did she leave us?
I don't know. See? Yeah.
I didn't do it on purpose. I think I was frozen, but I'm glad I wasn't on the screen what I miss. No.
Just talking about my driveway isopods, I think. The freebies.
So I don't know if you can see them on screen, but recently, normally it's tattoos, right? I really like tattoos. But I have gotten into piercings lately, so I did get snake bites.
Oh,
wait a
wow,
minute.
look at that. Is that what
So
they
they're-
are, snake
they're-
bites?
Yep, they're double lip piercings, and they're
Oh.
called snake bites. So, being that I keep snakes now, I figured they were appropriate. The only other piercing I actually had before I got these were just single ear piercings.
Right.
Now, of course, I went and got a piercing kit, so I've been poking holes in myself.
Oh, wow. And are you done with the tattoos, or are you still doing tattoos?
No, I'll still be getting tattoos. They're just expensive,
Yes.
whereas piercings are not. And my
Oh.
job allows for me to do whatever I want, so it's not a problem for now. And the great thing about piercings is I can always take them out.
Right.
Versus tattoos, like I had to stop them at my wrist line, so I could hide them with a long sleeve shirt.
Yeah, you're right, Lucky. I've seen some channels like that. But they're gorgeous. Little bugs.
So, the only kind of bug I think I would really like to keep are praying mantises. There's
Oh,
quite a few
I want
really
those
cool
orchid
ones.
praying mantises
Yes, the
so
orchid
bad.
mantises. Those are my favorite ones.
They are so cool, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. And there's like the dead leaf mantises. There's some really cool mantises out
And they
there.
really have personalities. It's like,
Yeah.
what?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little scared of the bigger ones, like even the
They
standard
look like
North American
they're
mantis.
conspiring to hurt you. They're
I'm a
like,
I know that, but they're big, and they have those little grabbers, and
yep. Oh,
they scare me a bit. I'm not gonna lie to you.
You know,
So that'll probably be a look, don't touch pet.
yes.
I see on Snake Discovery they're keeping them too now.
Yep. So when I'm watching reptile videos, it's usually them or Brian Barczyk. Brian Barczyk kind of strikes me like the Joey Mullen of the fish world.
Yeah.
Whereas he's the biggest one, and that's like therein lies his personality problem. Whereas Snake Discovery is more like aquarium co-op, and they're very wholesome, they're very ethical, and that's the thing that drew me into them, just like it drew me into aquarium co-op. Is everything they seem to be doing is for the betterment of the hobby, or to educate and instruct, not just show off or make as much money as they can.
Yeah, I think we've asked Snake Discovery and Clint, and who else did we ask?
I like Clint.
They did long shots, like, come on, really. But
Let me get some more subscribers, and then I'll start asking questions.
yeah, exactly.
I would love to meet them and talk to them. I love what they do. I love their zoo. So just like meeting Corey, that's one of the things on my list. I did get to meet Dean in a fish club meeting.
Oh, cool.
He was talking about setting up like hatch boxes and stuff like that, or fry hatching systems. So that was pretty cool.
Edric wants to know what you said about him. I don't know.
Oh, that I went back and read your comment about winning the lottery and going to send me a pair of tricolored hognose if you won the lottery. And then Dylan said, well, if you're sending him out, he'll take a female because he wants to breed
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can pull out one of the smaller Western hognose I have. It might be feisty because tomorrow's feeding day.
Uh-oh.
He's an anaconda. A song comes to mind every time I say anaconda.
Really? What song is that?
I'm not singing it.
Oh my God.
Just saying, if it comes to my mind, I'm sure it's coming to others.
Well, it's not mine. I'm just naive, I didn't say innocent. I
Are
said
those
that.
10 gallons? Maybe he can't hear me.
Yep, these are all 10-gallon tanks.
Wow. And I like that. I have a green screen holder like that, and you're using it for your lights. That's awesome.
It's actually a banner holder that I would use at swaps,
Right.
just shortened to hang lights on my dresser.
Cool.
I have that same one, and the banner is folded, put somewhere else. That is a great idea. I just finally took it down and took it all in parts and put it in its original carry bag. But that would be perfect. I need to get some lights over my indoor pond for my turtles.
Oh, that would go well.
Yeah, I'm not singing it, Anthony.
Yeah.
So spicy. He hissed at me, but he's fine.
Oh my gosh, it's his belly black.
Yep. So that is part of the condomorph. So you'll notice he doesn't have much of a, if I can get into the camera,
Oh
much
my
of a pattern
gosh.
here. So the condomorph is a pattern reduction. So this one is a Arctic watermelon conda that is 100% het albino and 66% het sable. So the 66% means that it is not guaranteed het sable, but it is very likely to be so. So the condomorph gives them that
The black
really cool
eyes,
black
the black
belly.
tongue, the black belly, that's a gorgeous snake.
That's why the condomorph is my favorite. I love the black belly. I love the pattern reduction. This one's got a lighter color to them for the Arctic. So I think the Arctic and conda are a really nice combination. If I can get a super Arctic, super conda, sable, albino, like we're talking like a $10,000 snake. It's the genetic lottery
Right.
when it comes and
But if
learning
you're
snake genetics was fun.
that you're planning on being your upcoming business, it's worth the investment.
Right, and that's the way I looked at it. I mean, I started with a bunch of corn snakes, and as soon as I decided I liked hognose, I figured out what morphs I liked, what morphs were going to be profitable that I liked, and kind of focused on that.
Right, which is why the only kind of skinks I have are the northern blue-tongued skinks, because eventually I want to breed them. So they're the only ones, and I keep making the investment in them, and I'm waiting for a male. Oh wow!
No, he's het albino, so genetically, if I put albino is a recessive trait, and if I combine it with another albino, I will get albino babies.
Look at that face. This is why I want a hognose. Look at that face.
Yeah, they're adorable. So Western hognose have kind of more of a pronounced snout than the tricolors.
Right.
Just another slight genetic.
Nose, like,
yeah. There we go. You can see it there.
By a hognose?
No, they like to hiss at me a lot, though. This one hissed when I picked them up.
Yeah.
It's the beard doing.
Yeah, the beard. Scary beard. No, it's tomorrow's feeding day and they're hungry.
Oh, yeah.
How often do you feed them?
These ones generally every 6 days when they're below a year. Try to grow them up a little bit faster. I'm not power feeding them or anything, but when they're smaller, they do need to be fed more often. And once I can get them on fuzzies, I will generally change that to once every 7 to 8 days.
Okay. Now Bob had a snake that he had to help eat because it wasn't feeding. Do you have any snakes that are having a hard time eating?
Nope, all of mine are very good about eating.
Good for you.
And one thing with hognose that you will notice when you get them as hatchlings, or if you hatch them yourselves, is since their diet is toads in the wild, it can be hard to get them to eat mice. And sometimes you have to use scented mice, so you use toad scent. Sometimes you have to use minnows. And sometimes you might lose the snake.
Toads?
Can you easily locate toads for feeding a snake all the time?
Well, I would imagine if you have a snake, I didn't know that you could go to the freezer and just buy, I'll take a dozen rats, I'll take these pinkies, I'll take, there's a whole...
So most places don't sell toads, so you're not going to find toads readily available.
Okay.
It's, mice are easy to breed, rats are easy to breed, toads are not. So it's one of those things where it's, most breeders take the opinion of conform or don't make it.
Okay.
But there's a lot of things you can try. So like I said, the scented pinkies, you can use sardine scent, you can use tuna fish, you can use, you can buy commercial toad scent to rub on them. You can try just heads or just pinky brains. There's lots of things you can do to try to convince them to eat.
Brains,
Listen,
in the brain.
it's for the cute snake. It's fine.
It is.
It's so cute.
Yeah. That's why I like hognose. Hognose are adorable.
Got the cutest face.
Pam, can you see why I want one?
Yeah, definitely. They're adorable.
And I like that the corn snakes are very long and skinny, whereas hognose are kind of short and stocky in comparison. This guy is probably, I'd only give him 8 or 9 inches. So he's small, but he's still, as big around or bigger around than that yearling, 18-inch long corn snake I had. Right.
Now they like to burrow, you said, but do they go underground and you don't see them, or do they just burrow and come up?
So, in the wild or in an enclosure?
Like in your enclosure.
They'll go down and come up. When they just want to be left alone, they'll burrow down in the substrate, but I'll see them sunning themselves or climbing over their enrichment, I call it, so the leaves and stuff. but they're definitely a snake that's a good candidate for belly heat.
Oh, right, okay.
And I got snake pee all over me. Oh, you're yeah, that's the fun thing about keeping snakes is they will pee and excrete upon you. So I'm going to put him back and wipe my hands off.
Cam, I've heard that he is good for wrinkles under your eyes.
Is it? Okay. Thank you, Bob, for that good tip.
Yep. You see how his skin like a baby's behind. Although, what? Oh, Reptilinks, yeah. Only problems you'll be using Reptilinks forever and going back to mice is difficult. I've never used Reptilinks. I didn't think about that when I had to assist and force feed 2 snakes now. So,
That's a pretty cool setup.
it really is.
Like it steps up.
And I like that he's got it where he can control the temp. Mine are all in my dining room because that's the only place I had to start with. So I can't close it off. You know, they're open doorways. I can't close it unless I hang some shower curtains or something. Oh.
All right, now that the snake pee is washed off my hands.
Yeah. I don't. What is it? I think they're figuring out what song it is, and it's going to break in a minute. Yeah, I never thought about using Reptilinks when I had to force feed.
What is a Reptilink?
It's kind of like a pre-prepared, almost like a little sausage link.
It's got all
Stuffed with little mice parts?
I honestly don't know. I've never used them. I've always fed my snakes frozen thawed mice.
Right.
I know some people use them.
It's ground.
I don't know much about them.
I think you can get them in different flavors. I'm not sure, different, bases to them.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Might be something to consider if you're hatching a stubborn hognose baby that won't eat mice.
Right.
So
You have a band? Oh, look at that.
I do.
I gotta join that. I love band.
Yeah.
Why are we always yelling? Yep, I have a band. I post stock lists when I have snakes for sale. They go up on there. Most of it right now is fish. The snakes are few and far in between for the moment until I start breeding them, but then I'll be posting all that stuff up.
Oh, cool.
I would like to eventually build a website. I actually have one built. I just haven't published it yet. Just got to get some fine-tuning to it first. But I do eventually plan on vending at Reptile Expos. I was actually signed up to one in November, but due to personal circumstances, I wasn't able to go. But I'll hopefully be signing up for a couple more, even if it's just to sell fish.
Right.
To kind of just get my name out there and start making, my local friends and connections.
Oh yeah, many varieties.
And even if you have those gorgeous breeders so people can see, these are what I'll be breeding, so come back next year and you'll be...
Yep.
They're babies.
Something I recently got is one of those digital picture frames that you can hook a USB up to. So for like fish swaps, my plan, because you know how fish and stuff wash out in bags over time, they don't look anything like they do in a tank. My plan is to take nice pictures of things in tanks and in enclosures and just have it kind of slowly just swiping through on the picture frames.
That's good. Yeah. Well, you always have a nice setup at the fish swaps anyway. Like you always already set up for that.
It's just getting better and better. I mean, I started with cheap auction fish, that I was paying $1 or $2 a bag for, and now I have fish that, at the swap in New York, I had a proven pair of snow white bristlenose. At the Clash, I had a proven pair of Fireman Stream flowerhorn. So I do a lot of higher end fish now. And I buy most of it from local people, local breeders. Even my flowerhorns are from a breeder now. So I like to keep the money local and support all the local hobbyists, give them a reason to keep breeding their fish. They like to sell them all at once, and I like to make as much as I can. So I'll, at the swaps, the events is where I do most of my stuff.
Right.
I haven't been shipping much lately. I'll get back into it as the year progresses. But most of it's just local events.
Yeah, that's awesome. So why flower horns as opposed to like maybe a trimac?
I love trimacs. I love all fish. There's not too many fish I dislike.
Except for that VA guy you didn't like because he was mean.
Yeah, no, I mean, I had the meanest green Texas cichlid in the world. He was 15 years old and bite your hand off.
So cool.
I mean, I had a pair of 14-inch long jaguar cichlids. I love my big cichlids, but nobody sells flower horns around me. And they're something that I like. They come in a bunch of different color varieties. They have great personalities.
I've seen some of those the white diamonds, I think.
There's so many, so many. So I right now have a Fireman's Dream and a King Campha. I've had Thai Silks. There's Golden Base, and like it kind of gets to be like snake genetics, where it's just this crossed with this, crossed with this, and it gets insane. But they're beautiful fish, and they're some of the most colorful fish. And I know some people hate on hybrids, and
yeah, they do. Like I wanted to bring some of my fish for the BAP program, but I didn't realize that the polar blue
parrots.
Yeah, or hybrids, and I couldn't bring them. I'm like, but these are gorgeous fish. They're gorgeous.
Jenny, when I start breeding things, probably yes. Most reptile breeders sell things on Morph Market, so why not? It'll depend on how successful I am. I mean, this is my first go around. I've never bred snakes before, so I don't know, how good at it, how good the first run's going to be. But hopefully I should have 4 clutches of corn snakes, which could be anywhere from 30 to 80 little baby corn snakes running around.
Wow.
So I should start breeding mice. Oh yeah, just a handful of colorful spaghetti. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
They're so cute when they hatch.
So cool.
I love watching hatching videos of snakes.
And can they live together when they're little?
They can, to a certain point. Most garter snakes are community snakes, so they can be kept together. Corn snakes, as they start to mature, probably should not be. They can be in some cases, like I know Bob's doing it with some.
They're still juveniles, though.
Yeah, like when they start getting bigger, once they, I would say, pass that 20-inch mark, it's probably best not to. Okay. So fun fact, so for hognose, the way Snake Discovery does it is they will always pair their hatchlings up when they put them in their baby bins after they first hatch. It helps, the snakes feel secure. They're used to being together, so it is actually helpful for them.
Oh, so when I get mine, I should get 2 babies.
You should get a male and a female of a morph that you really like that can make another morph that you really like. Then you should breed them, and then when you succeed, you should call me so I can come pick them all up.
I'll breed them. You can sell them for me.
Yeah.
I hope John's not listening to all this. Poor John.
Oh, it's funny.
I can only breed so much. The rest of it I have to find. So.
Right.
For somebody that's just wanting to start out with colubrids, what advice would you give? Is there like a rule of thumb, or?
I would say do your research, because there are so many. You can get, corn snakes, king snakes, milk snakes, hognose snakes in any variety of pattern and color that you can think of just about. So I would say go on Morph Market. Morph Market is a great place. They have genetic calculators, so if you want to see like what your snakes can make, you can do that. And I use that because I'm not good enough to just tell you off the top of my head what a watermelon articonda, het sable, it gets insane. But I would say go on Morph Market, kind of figure out the disposition of the snake you want. A corn snake or a milk snake is a great place to start. They're fairly docile. Hognose need a little bit more care. They need it a little bit warmer. And like I said, there's the issue with them eating sometimes. But find a morph or a pattern that you like, and then I would say go to a reptile expo. Everywhere's got a reptile expo somewhere within 2 hours of you. And find a local breeder if you can that carries that, and develop a relationship with them. Like all of my hognose come from the same guy. It's Andrew Sparks. He does some really, really nice hognose. And like the pied side blood red corn snake that I had, as well as her mate, the reverse Okatee blood red, both came from Rock Creek corns. So I tend to find breeders that I like, and kind of just I keep buying what they're producing as long as it's what I want, and the snakes that I'm getting are quality. So I'm very loyal to breeders that, one, give me good quality snakes with the genetics that I want, but two, like, you keep going back and they'll give you better deals as well.
Right. For sure.
So figure out what you like. I would recommend a corn snake first, or a milk snake. There's all kinds. Go on Morph Market, just go through each of the different color morphs, figure out what you like. There's so many. And make sure it's something that you're gonna love, because these aren't like, guppies or anything. They live a long time. Like, these snakes can live 15 years and get 5 or 6 feet. So make sure that you do your research, the temperature, the feeding schedule, humidity, substrate. Like, just like creating a fish tank, right? When you're getting a new species of fish for the first time, you need to know the care requirements for the animal that you're going to keep.
I was going to say the only thing with the milk snake, and mine is gorgeous, it's getting bigger, tricolor, is I never see it. Never even get.
Yeah, they are kind of shy. I noticed that too.
It hides as soon as it knows I'm coming in the room. So
king snakes are nice because they come out a lot, but they're also, again, very food motivated and a little bit bitey.
Yeah. I just got a little California king snake, a baby, so we'll see.
Nice.
Nice. Well, anybody have any other questions or comments?
No, but thank you so much for coming back on, Dylan. This was awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I always love talking to you guys.
Awesome. Awesome. Now we got to get you lined up for the Sunday night, but you've got a conflict with that, I think, right now.
Yeah, I can't do this Sunday night. I would love to. I want to. I just won't be able to.
We're trying to figure out a way we can go ahead and take people and then play the interview, during the time and stuff. So
right.
Maybe that later on.
I mean, some Sundays will work for me. I'm just not this coming Sunday. I would love to show you guys.
Well, throw me a date and we'll get you on there.
Yeah, let me check my schedule and check some of the stuff that I have to do coming up, and I'll reach out to you and let you know a day that works, because I'd love to show you guys, what I'm keeping now in the fish room and the way the new fish room is set up.
Awesome. Awesome. We'll do it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, it was great having you.
Yeah, it's nice to see everybody again.
Thanks to everybody in the chat, and thanks to the mods. You always do an awesome job. And thanks, panel. What can I say? You're tops. Good night, everybody. Thanks again.